Hello, it's Casey here. I'm not going to go into introductions because you know me. But if there's anybody else watching this, that'd be weird. So, I don't think anybody else can watch this. So, Professor Sills, hello, it's me, Casey, doing the video project. So, I'll get into it. I'm going to be doing ideological criticism, analyzing and looking at aspects of the documentary Prophets Pray and seeing what I can find from it. The author, or writer-director, is Amy Berg. She did an amazing job, oh my gosh. And some people featured, I'm not going to talk about everybody, I'm just going to talk about a couple prominent people featured, which is Nick Cave, he's the narrator, Elaine Anderson, Brent Jeffs, Thomas Jeffs, and Lori Chatwin were all featured. They had amazing stories to where they can tell firsthand their experiences, which is a great source. This documentary had amazing sources with everybody else featured as well. They did their research. It's great. And the documentary was released in 2015, which is amazing because it's recent. There's been documentaries about this for decades now, ever since kind of it blew up in the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s, but the early 2000s where it blew up. There's been documentaries and TV shows and movies and stuff that have highlighted the issues of the FLDS Church, primarily with Warren Jeffs leading it. But I'm glad this is more recent because it can talk about the history of this as well as what's been going on now and new things that are happening every day, as well as they can kind of predict in a way, which they did in this documentary, what will happen. And we'll get into some more of that stuff later. But right now I want to read the summary that I found. I found this movie on Showtime, and it's kind of like the only place you can watch this, unless you want to buy it on Amazon Prime. But I got most of my information about the details of it from Showtime. So I'll read their summary. It says, it's a documentary revealing the shocking life of notorious cult leader Warren Jeffs and the FLDS Church, who through brainwashing and abuse seized control of his followers' lives and in an organization worth hundreds of millions of dollars. While Jeffs is currently serving a life sentence for his crimes, he still exerts total authority over his flock. Features unprecedented interviews with church insiders and victims exposing the nightmarish hell of unspeakable crimes that still continue to this day. Alright, so the kairos of it. Let me just go over that real quick because I think the kairos of this is what really fueled me to pick this topic and this subject. It's relevant. It's been relevant since the 80s when the Warrens family took over in power of the FLDS Church. That's when they started with the father Rulon Jeffs, and then with his legacy going on, and then Warren Jeffs taking over after that, and Warren Jeffs is still in power, even though he's in prison. Crazy, but it's relevant. It's been relevant, and it's still relevant. It has that large window, and it's an open window because it's still relevant of relevancy. Let's take a shot for every time I say relevant. But it's now, it's current. New things are happening every day. New stories and new insights are happening. And I think it's just really interesting to see that. And even it's affecting South Dakotans now because they have they're making a huge, or it's probably already made, a huge compound in the Black Hills. They have one. And that compound is made for prominent leaders to go hide out. So it's affecting us as South Dakotans because they're coming here. But it's affecting people in Utah, in, where else? Nevada, there's South Dakota, there's Texas. Big things are happening in these states with the FLDS and with the Jeffs family that it's relevant. And that's the whole kairos of it. And that's why it's so interesting, is because it's crazy. It's crazy for real. It's relevant with the time, and it's also affecting people more and more as they branch out. So that's pretty much why I chose it. It's an interesting topic, and I want to delve more into it. I could have done cults. It was hard to find stuff on cults. And I like the idea of, well, not the idea, I love the subject of this. I've been super interested in the kind of the Mormon world of not just the FLDS, but there's also the LDS, which I'm not going to get into for this, but the whole subject of that is super interesting because it's so wacky, and it's not what I grew up doing. I didn't grow up in a polygamous family, and I didn't grow up with the abuse and whatever, so it's crazy to learn. It's like true crime. It sucks you in, and you just want to learn more. So that's why I chose, and that's Kairos of it all. It's fairly simple. I just chose something I was interested in and that I know quite a bit about from watching documentaries like this for the past few years. All right, to get into more of the ideological criticism itself and what I'm going to be doing in my paper and my research, I just want to make a disclaimer real quick. I am not going to base my research and my findings on the religion itself. That's not what the Prophets Pray documentary is about anyway. It's not about the religion itself, but more, we, as in me in the documentary, are going to be talking more about the problem of Warren Jeffs and the Jeffs family, the people in power, and how they're using abuse and brainwashing and all this other crazy stuff to hold their members tightly, even though all of this nasty stuff is going on, like Warren Jeffs going to prison for child rape. Like, it's crazy. I'm not going to be I'm going to be diving into the religion as a form of how it's affecting the religion and how it's affecting the members, but I'm not going to be really going over the members and the religion itself, except for the Jeffs and their victims in a way, and kind of that whole circle. I'm going to leave the big circle, the religion, out. Little circle, we're going to get into that. Excuse me. I'm going to be talking about what I find. I haven't really researched much, or not researched, but went much into my research for this paper yet. I've been so busy. I got a job. You know that. I just talked to you this morning about it. But I've been so busy, I haven't been able to really go in depth in this paper. But when I do, I'm going to learn some really cool stuff that matches ideological criticism to this, because I know there's some there. I know there's a lot there. But what I've kind of concluded so far are, one, this documentary is super persuasive. It's not really outwardly or openly persuasive, but it is. Documentaries, like you told me in our Zoom, have an agenda, and this documentary has an agenda. It has the agenda to expose the FLDS church and its leadership and the abusive power that's happening. So, one, it's persuasive. Two, it's persuading its viewers to get educated about the subject. It's not persuading us to go out and pitchforks and torches and go storm the compounds. No, it's not doing that. It's not telling us to do anything, but the persuasive aspect is pushing us to know what's going on, to know that this is happening because the FLDS church and group as a whole are very closed off. They are very closed off, and they don't want any outsiders in. Knowledge-wise, even physical, like presence-wise, they don't want any of us in. They don't want us to know because we're not part of that, and we're not worthy of that, apparently, because we are Gentiles, as they call it, not the chosen people. So that's their second kind of point of the agenda, is to allow us to get an insight on what's going on, so that maybe if something happens someday to where it's affecting people, we know what's happening. Like, it's affecting people on a small level in, I believe their compound is in Custer, South Dakota, the one I just talked about earlier. It's affecting the neighbors because they have trucks coming in because they're building and they're getting bigger. So if that affects the neighbors or the town or the state, we can know what's happening, and we can know who these people are and their beliefs and why they're doing what they're doing. So we can educate ourselves on that, which is really, really cool. That's why I like documentaries in general, is it's an educational aspect to things that you don't really know anything about. That's why you click on a documentary, so you can learn about something you don't know about, or you know a little bit about. So I'm going to leave it off with that, the two main ideological criticism points that I'm going to be talking about, because it's going to be taking the ideals of this whole FLDS power structure thing and their beliefs and their values, and the documentary is using it against them to show the world that this is crazy and this needs to stop. The abuse and the child stuff needs to stop, and just it's teaching us how to learn about something we don't know. I hope that's good. I hope I did this right. If not, ooh, that sucks. But yeah, I'm reaching about the 10-minute mark, so I'll cut this off now. I hope you have a good day. Enjoy watching our videos, and yep.